Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from Conklin. I want to say straight up a big thank you to the viewer who provided this for review. A long-term viewer who just wanted to basically say thank you for the work I do and purchase this off my Amazon wishlist. The Amazon wishlist is linked down below if you would like to support the channel. But yes, a big thank you to the viewer who provided this pen for today's review. So I had been looking at the Duragraph fountain pen for quite a while. Back when I first got into fountain pens was still when they were using the lesser quality nibs, and then they changed to Yovo nibs, and the pen went onto my wish list a couple of years ago. And then when and I just haven't got around to reviewing it, so I'm so glad to be able to today. What I have it in is the Orange Nights version. I really like the Conklin packaging. It's classy, it's kind of traditional. It might be a bit excessive, but you get a little card that says congratulations on your new pen, some information and stuff, and then 2 cartridges. And I love the fact that these little cartridges, a black one and a blue one, sit in little foam cutouts. I just think that's great. So nice, such nice packaging. Really enjoy that. But the pen also comes with a converter, which is in the pen and is currently inked. So I'm going to talk about the parts and features of this pen, and then I'll do writing sample size comparison, all that kind of stuff. So on the top of the pen, it says Conklin established I'm trying to get that in the light, 1898. Yes and no. The original Conklin, yes. The new version of Conklin is a little bit more recent than that. Basically, in 1898, Conklin was founded in Toledo, Ohio, in the US. But then, like since 2009, the brand name has been owned by Jaffa Pen Company, who own a range of different brands, and Conklin is one of theirs. And I think that they're doing pens that are decent quality at good prices. So yes, anyway, that's on the top of the pen. You then get the clip, which is quite stiff, but usable. A cylindrical cap with a chrome colored cap band there that, I'm not sure if the camera picked that up, but it says Conklin, and then has some little moon figures, which I assume is representative of like the traditional Conklin crescent filler. And then a little taper on that down onto the barrel of the pen, which is this sort of marbled orange acrylic. This black and orange acrylic is a really popular traditional sort of color combination, particularly in pens like of Italian heritage. And it is a really attractive combination. Like, there's a reason it's popular. I really like it. And even though there are so many different versions of the Duragraph in different materials and, translucent versions and all that kind of stuff, this is the one I always wanted to look at. See, that barrel continues along, little chrome ring there, and then a black end cap. The pen, it's a screw cap, and it comes off in less than 1 turn, reveals a tiny step down and some pretty smooth threads, and then a black plastic section which tapers and swells out, and then a number 6 nib with a plastic feed. It is a Yovo nib, branded with Conklin, including that sort of crescent breather hole. And as I said, well, I don't know if I said, this is a broad nib, which I haven't reviewed a whole lot of broads recently, so this is a really lovely opportunity for that. As I did say, it is a cartridge converter pen, and the converter is provided. It's a threaded converter, which is great, so it gives you a little bit more security. I have really enjoyed using this pen, I'm not going to lie. I really like it. I've got it matched with a really lovely orange ink, which partners perfectly with the color of this pen. It's just a great little pen. Not fancy, steel nib, cartridge converter, basically a fancy plastic, but it really writes well. It writes wet, it writes smooth, like amazingly smooth. And I think it's pretty decent value. We'll talk about price here because I just mentioned the value. So in Australia, depending on where you buy it from, this particular version of the pen can retail anywhere from about 75 to 110 Australian. So not super inexpensive, more than your traditional sort of starter pens, but it's a good value pen. In the US, it's about 65 to 70 or 60 to 75 US and about 75 euro. So pretty well priced, especially for the quality of the pen you get. The pens are made in China, I will say that. Chinese-made pen, but with as I said, a Yovo nib, so a nice sort of German nib. And in the end, that's the bit that's on the page, and that affects the writing experience the most. So that's really great. Okay, time for a size comparison, and we've got it here alongside the traditional Lamy Safari. It is just slightly longer than the Safari, just by like maybe a millimeter. There's nothing in it, and including in the girth. Like, they are very similar sized pens. Once again, uncapped, they come in at around the same kind of length. But with that number 6 size nib, if you go sort of end of section to end of section, the nib on the Conklin is way bigger, but the Lamy becomes sort of further back in your hand. The Conklin is longer when it's posted. It does post, not super deeply, but quite securely, but becomes quite a long pen, as I said, considerably longer there than the Lamy Safari. Okay, let's talk the dimensions of the Conklin Duragraph here, which I said is in the Orange Knights finish. It is 139 millimeters when it is capped. It's 126 when it's uncapped. So it's an okay length in the hand. It works, like, it's fine. And it's 175 when it's posted. It's not particularly back weighted. It's just a little bit sort of long. Around the section is 9.5 to 10 millimeters, so it's very comfortable. And around the cap is about 15 millimeters. So it's a nice sort of standard solid size in the hand. Nothing big, nothing small about it. Just really, like, probably right down the middle of standard size for a fountain pen. The pen weighs 24 grams, 12 in the body, 12 in the cap. So the balance is evenly distributed. I tend to write with this unposted. I know that's my thing, and I tend to do that with most of my pens. But just that extra length with that little bit of weight just makes it's not badly balanced. It's just too long, in my opinion. And at this sort of length, when it's uncapped there, it's actually very, very comfortable. Okay, let's do a writing sample now with the Conklin Duragraph. This has a number 6 steel broad nib. As I said, it's made by Yovo, and it is awesome. Awesome nib. Straight up. Great, great nib. The ink I have in this is Ackerman. I think it's number 16, Oranje Boven. Beautiful ink. This is the Orange Knights finish of the Duragraph. So there's tons and tons of versions of this pen. Writing sample. It writes beautifully. Like, it's a good broad sort of size. Not the broadest broad I've ever used, probably on the medium end of broad, but great for like standard writing on like standard notebooks and things. Probably too broad for writing in things like the Hobonichi and those kinds of, 4mm grid paper and all that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, this is a really lovely size nib. Reverse writing is very possible. And brings it to something closer to probably even a fine nib, but incredibly smooth to do that. Not a flex nib. You just end up putting down a whole lot more ink. And that's not something you need to worry about with this pen, because it writes very wet all on its own. It's amazing. Let's do a fast writing. Okay, so what can we take away from this writing sample? Firstly, it's a broad nib and it writes very well. It writes incredibly smooth. It writes incredibly wet. It writes incredibly reliably. It's a Yovo nib with a Schmidt threaded converter. The guts of the pen all add up to this writing beautifully. And it does. There's never ink starvation. It doesn't dry out. It is incredibly reliable. The Duragraph in its version with the Yovo nibs may be in the running for something as a almost perfect everyday writer. In fact, I would consider getting another one in a finer nib just for that purpose. But occasionally I like to write with a big, juicy, broad, wet broad nib. This is ticking boxes. And in this finish, I love orange and I love black and I love the traditional sort of color scheme for fountain pens. Lots of pros here. So what are the pros and cons? Okay, neutral is the price, not super cheap, definitely not expensive, but good value for what you get. Cons. Personally, I don't really have any. I mean, it comes with a converter, it comes with cartridges, it's nicely packaged. Maybe for some people, the grip section might be a bit thin or a bit short. I don't find that to be an issue. If you have to post your pen, that length might be an issue for some people, but generally speaking, those are going to be pretty personal cons, and I don't see them as cons. Big pros, it's a really good standard size pen. It fits nicely in the hand. It's got a threaded converter, so you've got a bit of extra security there. There are so many different finishes, so if this isn't for you, there's other plain colors, there's sort of more colorful versions, I think there's metal versions, there's the demonstrator versions. Like, they keep bringing out editions of the Duragraph. I think Conklin Duragraph know they're onto a winner. They've been onto a winner for years, and now with the Yovo nib, it's a no-brainer. And also, it comes in a range of nib sizes, extra fine, medium, broad. I think you can occasionally get it in like stub nibs and things like that, but it's a number 6 Yovo nib. So any of those number 6 Yovo nibs through to the double broad and some of the calligraphy style nibs will fit. Even the Omniflex will fit. So, great pen. So yes, this was the Conklin Duragraph in Orange Nights. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. Please like and subscribe, hit the notifications button, all that kind of stuff. Like, comment, share. It all helps the algorithm and helps me continue to grow my channel. If you want to support my channel, there are many ways you can do that. Drop me an email, we can have a discussion, or you can look at the Amazon wish list, which is linked below, which is where this pen came from. So a massive thank you to the viewer who provided this. And yeah, I am grateful that you did, because I think it's an amazing pen. So, until next time, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.